analyze other people's comics. We did that last time, and let me just say, I was super impressed with your comments in class last time when you were analyzing comics. They were really great, so I'm expecting that we'll have a great discussion about the book. Okay, so there's a little intro here before you get to the actual text. It's just 2 pages. Starts Rego Park, New York, 1958. I just want you to read those 2 pages right now. Read them really carefully. Look at all the detail in each image and think about what we were talking about in class in terms of analysis. It's just a couple pages, but I think there's a lot to be said, a lot we can say about how he sets up this story. So Art Spiegelman is telling this, that's the author of our book. He's the point of view of the child here, right? And it's kind of our introduction to his father through this one little event. Pick out which frame in this you think carries the most emotional impact. Has the most emotion. Okay, and then I want you to tell the person sitting next to you why you chose that frame. Why do you think that frame has the most emotional impact? Tell the person next to you. Yeah. Okay, which frame did you guys think it was? Mercedes?
I personally said it was the wait up.
Okay.
Because it's the moment he realized his friends aren't really his friends.
So it's this one down here in the corner. Okay, so it's like this moment where he realizes that his friends aren't really his friends. What does this little frame do visually to convey that idea? Keegan?
You can see in like the corner there's a little roller skate, and it kind of just shows them like leaving and not looking back.
Yeah, good. So in the one right before that, where he's like, where they're like, rotten egg, haha, we see them still in the frame together, the 3 friends, right? But in this frame, he's all alone in that, except for the tiny little like trace of his friendship leaving him, you know? Without that little skate in the corner, we might focus in just on him and think about his emotions there. It might not be as impactful as actually seeing the friendship leaving him, you know? So you get this visual trace of the emotion that he's feeling. What else makes that little frame very emotional, do you think? What about the way that it depicts him crying? Because we could see this, you know, the mouse could be devastated. We could see a whole bunch of different tears like running down his face, right? He could be opening his mouth in anguish, but we just get this one little tiny, it looks like an eye, you know? Yeah.
It's kind of like his head's still up, so it's like kind of like, hey, wait, I like he still had that hope for his friend to come back, and it's like that first tear that comes down.
Okay, so it's like that initial little, it's the realization that makes it so emotional. So we just want the one little point of realization. How about the way that he's facing? Do you see how he's kind of facing away from us? He's kind of tilted so that we see his back with his legs going, you know, out this way. Why do you think that would be important for perspective here? Yeah, go ahead.
Because if you were looking straight at his face, you couldn't really get he's looking at them and towards them, where his body's like pointed towards them.
All right, good. So we need to see that the reason that he's having this emotional reaction goes towards his friends. Again.
And like, I think it shows more of like, yeah, if it was like looking straight at him, you would only like see his face. But like, since it's at this perspective, you can like see more of his body language, and it kind of shows like how helpless he is right there.
Yeah, I like the sense of helplessness with his back turned toward us. It's like we're watching him, but he doesn't have full control over that. And here he is on the ground, so we get the full body that he seems helpless there too, because he can't skate to catch up to them, right? He's been disabled in a way because he doesn't have this skate, and because of that disability, he can't be where the other people are. Maggie, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say like something about like when he stutters, because that gives a little bit like a like confused, like he's like leaving, they're not like wait up, like because you could say to your friends wait up, and he's like oh wait, and then but he's like wait, like actually are they actually gonna wait for me or
yeah, there's this like uncertainty in the way that it's written with that little wait, you know, that little stutter there. Let me ask about the handwriting. So some comics, they'll use a font. It'll be typed. This comic, he's handwritten all of the words, and that's throughout the whole thing. Why do you think that he does that? Peyton?
I feel like it makes it more personal, like it's truly in the story.
Yeah, people have argued that with comics, that when you handwrite it, it's like you actually see the markings of the artist on the page, not just in the images, but in the words itself. Let's go Ash and Maggie Keegan. Yeah.
After this gives me like clear feel.
Oh, what feel?
Like it makes it more clear.
Peer? Oh, okay. So like we're like pals with them kind of a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you see, I mean, we start when this character is a little kid. And I think that gives us this emotional connection to the author a little bit more too, where we see him as a more emotional kind of character. And so we want to like know him a little bit better. Maggie?
It kind of gives it like a journal feeling.
Yeah.
It's like instead of writing a journal, it's more visual, obviously. But like you're like, oh, you could have written this down all before, and
yeah,
you're almost like, oh, yeah, I should see that happen.
So it's almost personal in a way that we're like getting a glimpse into who he is, and almost in a way then that's we're not completely supposed to, right? Journals are a little bit secretive. They're a little bit off limits to everyone but the writer. So the personal qualities of this can sometimes get a little uncomfortable. And actually that will happen later in the book too, where we're like, ooh, I shouldn't be seeing this scene. This seems like it should be just for him and his dad. Why am I a part of this? It's so personal. And then Keegan, yeah.
I also feel like the handwriting makes so this is like set during World War II, and it kind of makes it seem more like old. Because like usually with books you see printed like more modern printed stuff. This makes it have more like an old feel.
The style does too, doesn't it? That's a great transition into the style. Look how like sketchy everything is. Like there is no there's no like grays. It's all blacks and whites. And so all of the shading is this cross hatching, which gives it this messy kind of look to it. Why do you think that he went for this messy look? Because I'll say there's a little section in here where he draws in a different style. Let's see. I don't want you to read any of it because that'll be spoilers. Yeah, but you can kind of see the ones with the black border. He can draw in a different style. He's actually a very good artist. He's choosing to do this kind of sketchy-like style on purpose. So why do you think he would choose this messy kind of style for the story? Mercedes.
I feel like it intrigues the reader more, and also because it's like it's more the perspective of like a kid, that it's like, kids don't have that like fine print.
Yeah.
Like a picture.
Okay.
They have more of like a messy style.
And you're going to see even in the next pages that style cleans up a little. So that makes sense. But he still keeps the kind of sketchiness even when he's depicting himself as an adult. And I think it shows us that he's a kid to someone, like he's a son. So it has that little bit childish quality to it. Is there anything else about the sketchy style why you think you tell this story this way? I think, no.
I think it sets a tone of like how kind of it's more of a messy type of story where you don't, it's a lot of other comics are a lot more clean.
Yeah.
And this kind of just shows kind of how gross and like messy this kind of era is.
Yes.
I want to convey that.
Absolutely. Yeah. If we have a story about World War II, it makes sense to have a messy style to go with such a messy situation. And by messy, it's like there aren't clear good guys and bad guys. Like if you look at a superhero comic, usually it's really clean lines, it's typed words, it's clear colors, right? But in this, it's like, in a superhero comic, that's like, it's clear who the good guys and the bad guys are. There are villains and heroes. In this, there are no villains and heroes. So that messy style where you really have to like sometimes squint to see what's going on reflects that kind of story. Peyton?
Adding on to that, I think the black and white also helps because you can use colors to like depict who's a good guy and a bad guy. But when it's black and white, you can tell. All the houses look the same too. So.
Yeah, excellent. And there's no even like gradation either to help you tell the difference between things. Like there's no gray. So it's really like up to the reader then to decide the values of everyone. Yeah, who's acting in their, who's acting to the best of their ability, who's the hero, who is moral and who's immoral. All right, I bet though that some people had different frames that were the most emotional. Who had a different frame that they felt had the most emotional impact? Ashton?
I thought the last one was pretty emotional just because he's talking about his friends and like what a true friend is.
Okay, so this one with his father at the end. Yeah, what gives that frame? Who chose that one for their most emotional frame? Just you? That's the one I chose too, actually. There's no right answers, but okay. So then tell me, why would that one carry, the most emotional weight visually?
I could also see this one because like it's more of like a wider frame.
Yeah.
Rather than close up on them, where it's like they're talking. This is like a lasting sentence.
Yes, and it's from further away, right? We might in film, we'd call that an establishing shot, that you establish, it's happens right at the beginning too. You establish the setting, but it's interesting here, usually that's the first shot, but here it's like the one that's going to lead us into the book. So it's kind of the intro shot, but it's at the end of this little intro. So basically what you said, it's like this bird's eye view kind of thing, a long view on something that's going to last with him for a long time. And it's such a stark contrast in tone. Like the first part of this is him playing with his friend, and it's a really relatable story where the kid breaks his skate and the friends are like, haha, see you later. Like, I don't know, I was kind of a bully in school. I did that to my friend. She couldn't get her bike lock open, so I was like, see ya, and we went and hung out without her. I still feel guilty about it. I was probably like 8. But anyway, like this is a relatable story, friends leaving, right? But then at the end, we get to this like white dark turn where he says, if you lock them together in a room with no food for a week, then you could see what it is, friends. And it's just like, oh, wow, this father has an experience that is not at all relatable to the son. Like the son is like, Dad, my friends left me because they were on roller skates. And the father's like, yeah, try starving in a room for a week and then you'll see who your friends are. It's just like such a stark difference between the two characters, right? So I think that abrupt shift in tone, that creates some emotion for me too. All right, let's see. Is there anything else I want to say? Okay, so all of this right at the beginning is to help establish the perspective of this book, I think. We're from the perspective of the son. It's a son who doesn't quite understand his father, who sees his father as maybe very dramatic or very dark and the son doesn't have the experiences that help explain what that's all about and why that would be the case. We haven't yet talked about why they're depicted as mice. I actually think it will be best, let's read the next chapter and then have that discussion about why they're depicted as mice. So it goes to page 24. Nope, 23. 23 is the last page of that. I'm going to give you a few minutes to read this. It'll probably take us 10 to 15 minutes to read. So go ahead.